What's that, Malphits? It's your boy Laughers I made, looking cute, looking clean, looking sexy. And we talking about the House of Dragons. I'm here with my boy, the one, the only Afro coming 765. How you doing today, Tor?
You already know, local neighborhood scumbag here to give the folks their daily dose of dirtbag on dragons this time, though. So
the House of D, we out here.
Out here talking about hot D. Tune in, people. Hey, George R.R. Martin called it that, not me. I'm just sticking with him. If he's going to call it hot D, I'm calling it hot D, too.
We start the episode with King Jaharis.
King Jaharis giving his speech, setting the precedent for, what's it called, passing down the royal line.
And we have the new king. He is here. You see him. He got a little issues in the first episode. He got a few issues. We got Princess Renee. They up there.
Yeah,
they fighting for the. We start the episode finding out they are actually fighting for the crown. And of course, they couldn't let a woman do it.
Nope.
So this is how the show starts off. It gives us the illustration, and we know that Prince Visceras won. He became the king. He became the ruler. And
so Daenerys became the queen that never was.
Yes. So Tor, how did you feel about the very first episode of
Honestly, I felt a lot better about it than I thought I would. I had a lot of I went into it with issues thinking there was going to be big pacing issues where this is a single book and how they used to put a single book into a whole season. How are they going to stretch it out? Is it going to be weird? But I was pleasantly surprised. They did an amazing job with the pacing, like from when Jaharis made the proclamation in 101 AC into when Visceras took over, into how he had only had a daughter. She was a dragon rider by 7, and then of course it goes into where we see her riding in on Cyrax and her coming down and talking to the King's Guard. The pacing, and when once they got to Daemon a little bit after that, I felt like they gave each of the characters that they were gonna seriously spotlight throughout the show. I feel like they did a good way of staging them, so these are gonna be the players, and this is how it all starts. I just thought that was my biggest worry, because like I said, I've read the book already. I know it's an amazing story. And I've heard, just like everybody else, that they went out of their way to stick as close to the book as they could, aside from aging some characters up, which is understandable making a TV show. Because quite honestly, if you went by the ages that George R.R. Martin put in the book, you would be putting some child actors in some very awkward positions. So aside from aging everybody up, I thought it was a super good first, just in general, talking about TV shows. I mean, I don't think you could get much better of a pilot episode, just setting up how the show should be. So all in all, first episode, I'm very hopeful. I think this could be a sleeper hit. Like, people aren't thinking that it could be as big as Game of Thrones, but I feel like there'll be a lot of people that switch the tune once they really start watching the show, at least from what we've seen from episode 1.
It was visually stunning. I actually loved the visual. From the start, when the dragon came around the building, I'm like, okay, that's smooth. It didn't look, because normally when you go around, it looks kind of odd, and you can stick out.
Did you notice how the dragon, when she was going over the building, did you notice how the leg actually moved like it was trying to ride itself in air? Like that? That's the stuff that is amazing to me that they can do with CGI.
It is. So the dragon,
the whole movement of the dragons is super dope.
It was. I was worried they were going to cheap out some spots, only because Game of Thrones at the last season cheaped out so much.
And where there have to be so many. If they really stay close to the books for this series, there could be up to 20 different dragons we see in this show. That's a lot more. That's a lot more than Dany's 3 in Game of Thrones. You know what I mean?
We got some interesting characters on this show.
Oh, there are some good characters.
As y'all see at the bottom, all my homies hate Otto. He betrayed my. He's trying to set up my boy Damon. We're gonna get to Damon in a minute. Otto
Yeah.
is the worst dude. I want to spend time on him for a minute. This man sent
Okay.
his daughter to try to soothe over the king. And when she was, by the way, she was trying to work it too. She was out here, hey, listen, I like this
Hey,
book.
trying to get a crown.
She out here playing to emotions.
Hey, she was slick though. She was slick talking to Visceras. She knew what she was doing. She acted like a lady at court.
Alicent. Rhaenyra, she's a Rhaenyra friend. You first meet her at the thing while Rhaenyra's like, yo, I really don't want to be this king. I just want to ride dragons and chill.
Yep.
She's like, I don't want to be the queen. At this point, she was like, I don't really. That's my uncle thing. I hope he have a son. All that. I just want to ride dragons. Yeah. Let me be in the army and ride dragons and just hang out. That's all I want to do.
Hey.
That's why she got a lot of love for her uncle.
You can't blame her.
Yeah. It's like
I want to ride a dragon too.
I can ride dragons. Why would I want to just be a queen? Oh, I saw Emma literally said we are like royal wombs. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yo,
Andrew Tate approves to her.
Wasn't wrong though.
Andrew Tate approves to her.
Hey, Andrew Tate definitely. He watched this first episode of Hot D, and he was like, as soon as he heard that, he was like, "That's Tate's speech right there."
But royal room, we saw a lot of them. As people would say, women's rights violated.
Yeah, but
we saw some power moves too by women.
In George R.R. Martin's defense, there ain't no women's rights in the Seven Kingdoms. I mean, bruh.
But we did see women make power moves too, as we said about Alicent.
Yeah, that's true, and that's one reason why I'm so excited about this show, because this leads. For those of you who don't know, this will lead eventually, if they do it right, this will lead into the actual Dance of Dragons that everyone in the original Game of Thrones talked about, the Great Targaryen War. And I'm really stoked because, like I said, I'm holding it in because it's easy with it being a single book. We get to talk about it, and next thing you know, I've spoiled this whole first season for people. So we try to avoid that. Yeah. But I mean, there's so much that they can do. I just hope they don't try to stretch this out longer than it should be. One book, I hope they can get 1 or 2 seasons out of it. If that's what they do, maybe 3 at the most, but don't try and Game of Thrones a single book. That's all I'm saying. Because I think we'll find out really quickly with the pacing on, because if all these episodes are going to be paced as well as this first episode, they can knock this book out in a season, 2 seasons, easy. It's just really, and it could be an amazing thing. If they turn it into a cash grab, this might get a little bit ugly. But like I said, so far, I'm stoked because like I said, in this first episode, they hit all the important points that I think that you need to hit in a pilot episode for a TV show. Who are the main characters? What are these? And they did a really good job of, you didn't quite know in the beginning where the conflict was going to come in, and then they just smack you in the face with it.
You start out with the King Council, and they kind of give a hint at it, talking about where your brother is. Has he talked to you since he became the leader of the city guard?
Yeah. Hey, man, shout out Damon, creator of the Gold Cloaks, Lord Fleabottom himself.
Yeah. Speaking of Gold Cloaks, yo, they came in with the ruthlessness. He said, I done trained you from mongrels.
Yep.
Now you hounds.
And like in the book, he went and he picked, these weren't lords and like sons of lords that were being inducted into the city watch. These were regular peasants, and he showed them the way of the sword and the cudgel and the dirk, and then he gave them all long gold cloaks and was like, "Yo, go police the city."
When they came in, you steal, your hands gone. If you're a rapist, your man's gone.
Getting gelded.
And they took care of all that. And a murderer, you got your head cut off and put in the basket and carried off.
Yep.
2 loads? It was 2 loads, right?
Yeah, it was 2 loads of heads.
2 loads of heads just coming out the city. His brother on his side a little bit there. The king, as another group, as we learn in this episode, the King's Council is there.
Yeah.
and they did not like this, and they hey, this versus Visceras. Keep saying that wrong.
Everybody hates Damon, yo. They think he's gonna be Magor the Cruel, which is gonna be funny later. Well, not funny, but George R.R. Martin's got a funny way of spinning stuff, so I think that'll be a good one too. But I think, man, Matt Smith was my favorite Doctor Who, and he's already, even from this first episode,
He's an
he's
amazing
he's
actor.
gonna take Damon Targaryen to the next level, yo. Like
He's an amazing actor. He had the
he
hard Doctor Who
will.
too.
Yeah, he was the best
He
doctor though.
was
He
a
was the doctor that he wasn't playing no shit. He was murking boys. He was ending timelines. He was like, yo,
he was the second serious Doctor, right? Cause the
yeah,
the the
well,
second the second one was serious too in Doctor Who. You know, I know
yeah.
this ain't Doctor
But
Who. I'm sorry about
I
that.
think in actual line, he was the fifth doctor though, fifth or
I'm
sixth
talking about the
doctor.
serious ones. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about
the doctor that wasn't
the,
all funny and whimsical.
yeah. So because I know the one before him was 100% whimsical. He was probably the most whimsical. He had the old
Yeah,
man. He
that
was
was
serious too, but he was after him. He was after Matt Smith.
yeah. And then they went to a woman after that.
Jodie Smith is actually doing really good.
I ain't gonna lie. I have a very sexist view in certain TV shows, and I've not watched female Doctor Who. I've heard good things though.
She's good, but the storyline she have be trash though. That's the only problem. She got trash storylines. I'm like, y'all really gave
I
a
just
woman
thought
the
it was
worst
weird to
storyline.
do a gender swap after like 10 seasons. Like the Doctor's reincarnated as a man 8 or 9 different times, but
But wasn't it written that the first
I'm not a
Doctor?
master on Time Lord physiology, so I don't know.
But technically it doesn't have a he doesn't have a gender
No,
because
no, not at all. Time Lord is gender neutral.
I'm talking about even I don't even think she's a Time Lord. He's like some ancient.
Oh,
If you read the old
okay.
books and what he said, but that we talking about, we get off
I
track.
was gonna say we're getting off back to House of the
Yeah,
Dragons.
shout out to Matt Smith and killing his role as Damon,
Yeah,
who was an
he's
amazing one.
killing it,
We see the King's Council. They all see the King is weak. I'm sorry, Damon right
bruh.
at the end of the show.
Damon, but and I feel bad for Damon because he sort of gets screwed out of it because technically in the line of succession he should be the next king. I mean, Viserys has not produced a male heir. Jaharis set the precedent in 101 AC, which was, for those of you who don't know, there'd be 101 after Aegon's conquest, which is when the doom of Valyria hit and the Targaryens came over on dragons and subjugated the whole realm of the First Men, which is the Seven Kingdoms. So, but yeah, Damon, man. But I feel like because we ain't gonna act like I, I love Damon and I love Matt's portrayal of him, but Damon in the book is not a he's still got some bad stuff to do. But I think we'll get sort of the Jamie Lannister effect where he's gonna do some messed up stuff and people will hate him and then they're gonna turn it around and he's gonna be a fan favorite. Or it might go the opposite because I've seen a lot of people love just Matt Smith's portrayal of Damon to start from this first episode. So maybe they'll love him and we'll get into these later episodes that get a bit tricky and especially in today's society's view of things and maybe we'll get the turn and people are going to hate him. So
Yeah, I like
I'm
him at the
super eager
beginning.
to see how
So
that goes.
the King Council obviously don't respect the king at any way. They talk
Nope.
back crazy to this man, and
Yeah, they wouldn't talk like that to Big Daddy Jaharis. Well, I don't know though, because he was the Spring King, but that's why I don't think they would have talked to him crazy because he was the one that he took everybody. Because in Viserys' defense, he's sort of just following after his father's path. King Jaehaerys' whole reign was taking us out of this warring of 7 kingdoms and sort of subjugating and unifying everybody under the Iron Throne. I mean, Aegon did that to begin with, but of course you're gonna have there's the Dornish, and I mean I'm guessing we'll get into Dorne in the show because there's some tie-ins that come in there. But I mean, you got to think the Targaryens came in and literally took 7 different kingdoms and was like, no, you all belong to us now. So I mean, Jaehaerys did the dirty work, and well, Aegon did the actual dirty work, but Jaehaerys led out of it, and then Viserys is just sort of. And I like the dude that's actually playing Visceras. I think he's doing a good job of playing him. But
Yeah.
you called it. Like, this is not a strong king that everyone's afraid of.
He's ill too. He got problems with his back that they
I was
have
about
to.
to say
He,
he's not riding. He doesn't ride dragons anymore. He's not. You know what I mean? There's no fear there anymore. You're not worried about King Visceras flying in on Balerion the Dread. What you're really worried about is goddamn Prince Daemon riding in on crazy looking freaking Syrinx, which is, I love the way they made that dragon look, like just him having the crazy long neck. Because, like I said, that's he was much smaller sounding in the book, and I feel like they made him bigger just to sort of be like, "Yo, this is Daemon's dragon." So I'm here for it. I love the way that Caraxes look, and I like all the way the dragons we've seen so far look. Like I said, I was worried about that too, because like you said, in the final two seasons of Game of Thrones, season 7 and 8, we got really iffy with the dragon
we saw
animation.
Starbucks on table
They
stuff.
they was like, "Yo, just fly it in. We're gonna throw the CGI in post cut and keep it moving."
No, it's Starbucks bottles on
But I would say
I'm
that
like,
Starbucks cup will forever be.
I'm like, bro, are y'all serious right now? Did you not even? You can edit it out. You can literally just
Yeah, I was
image
gonna
it.
say you could have went back in and cut that out in post. Come on now.
Like you can even. It's ways to do it. It might look awkward. You can do that on a Samsung phone. You can edit things out.
Bro,
How do you feel
they
about this
could
King's
have.
Council? How do you think they portrayed him? I think they did a good job.
I think they did a really good job. Like, it doesn't feel too different from the Game of Thrones setting, but it feels different enough to where you can tell it's before. And I love the way that the Iron Throne looks. I think it looks so much more close to how it's described in the books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they made it a lot smaller in Game of Thrones, like the show, and that's for a reason. Because I mean, time goes on, metal wears and wears away. But I think the way they made the Iron Throne for this show, how the swords spread out a little bit more, even though from the description in the book, it's a lot, it'd be like less horizontally wide and more vertically long. But I think they did a good enough job to where you can tell that it's before, but not so far. You can tell it's not like a super big time difference. We're not talking thousands of years. We're talking 100, almost 200 years. And I think you can really feel it. Like, there's not a super big change, but there's enough of a change you can tell there's a difference. Like, even with the dragon pit, it not just being full of bones, you know what I mean? There being actual dragons in there. So, all in all, I think they did a really good job with King's Landing, showing like the before times and all that. Most definitely.
We have the Aries Tournament that came because the king is having a son. He had a vision of the son running the thing, and he went off that vision. He told Emma about it, and she was like, "What if you had a daughter? What are we gonna do?" He's like, "No, I know it." He ended up was gonna have the son during this, but how do you feel about how that was done? It was like a neat way to incorporate like the Aries Tournament and then switch back and forth to the labor because it was
Yeah,
happening at the same
I
time.
think that was one of my favorite parts, is that they started off with this King's tourney, and it's all fun, and we get to see Daemon right against Sir Corwin, and he ends up losing, and then ends up losing the Bailey to him too. But then, of course, you have your boy Otto comes in to tell King Viserys that there's a problem, and then they shift. And you really, like I said, I expected the whole childbirth scene to be a little longer than it was, like a little more emphasized. But I sort of think it was better that they sort of not really like sped through it, but they showed you what you needed to see, and then they shifted back to like the attorney after, as everyone's finding out. I thought that was a really good, like, it showed the difference. It was a really good contrast. It showed how quickly you can go from fun and celebrating to now everybody's wearing black and it's a mourning period. So I thought that was super good.
they did that transition when like the dude hit the dude in the head and he just pulled it
Yeah,
up, and
when he
then
caved this skull
and
in.
then it showed Emma bleeding from the surgery. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
bro.
that's like It went from blood to blood.
Sick transition.
Yeah, and then it went, and as you said, after the thing, Damon lost. He don't lose.
Two
So like,
times he lost. He lost the joust and the melee because he ended up losing. Well, no, because he tried to keep the fight going once they were off the horses.
Yeah.
And what's his face knocked Dark Sister out of his hand.
Yeah. And
Sir Corwin, that's his name.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's his name. If I'm wrong, somebody in the comments will correct me. I'm sure.
Sir Cole? Yeah, it's Sir Cole.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Marathon
okay, Cole.
Marathon Cole.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then they transition to the end where you see they an involuntary C-section in a time where they couldn't handle C-section.
Yeah, there wasn't a safe way to just cut a woman open and take the baby out.
Yeah, so they had a C-section. And in this time, during this era, if you have a C-section, they just learn how to do it. So if you just learn how to do something, the woman she bled out and she able to pass. But then he's like, I choose my son over my wife because I was destined to have a son. And then they have this period that if you don't pay attention, I had to go back because the first time I was doing something. So I had to go back and be like, why he don't have a son no more? Like they like smoothly like he's going.
Yeah, I was gonna say because all you see really is the maester holding the baby. And
yeah, don't even say nothing. So you like, oh, he got a son called Berlin.
Yeah, Balon, which ties into the Greyjoys later because that was Theon in regular Game of Thrones. His dad was like the 5th or 6th Balon, which showed you sort of how the Targaryens sort of got around the Seven Kingdoms.
So you got that situation going. And then you go to the funeral, which the dad couldn't even tell the dragon. And this man, he at this point, he's so weak, he can't even tell the dragon.
And he couldn't even tell the dragon to light the funeral pyre.
Rhaenyra told him. He's like, hey.
Yeah.
And they had the funeral fire because he just sitting there. You see
Damon. I like the foreshadowing and how Damon told her to tell the dragon, like, hey, your dad's sort of looking weak. Why don't you go ahead and snappy that dragon for us? Because I feel like if Damon would have done it, it would have been sort of seen as a conflict thing, like the prince overstepping his boundary, and you get less of that where Rhaenyra is so loved by the people.
He also told her your dad needs you. He said your dad needs you right now, so you gotta look out for him. Which showed Damon care about his brother and not like Otto said.
And that's one thing people will learn is that even though the Springtime King's sons, they are going to have so many beefs in this show, but them niggas always find a way to come back together at some point. Which is super true with brothers in general. I don't know how many times I've argued with my brother. We not talked to each other for a while, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's your brother.
And you see the morning. You see how the king is distraught. You see Otto doing like we said earlier. He out here soliciting his daughter,
playing the Game of Thrones,
and
nigga trying to get a seat.
And we see Damien, who was always in brothels with the common folks. The common folk
living life, bro.
He the common folk.
He was a man of the people.
Yeah. He was the
king of the city.
Yo, he got what's the name? Start with an M?
Masaria.
Yeah, Masaria. He with Masaria. He don't like being looked at, but he just with the people. He trying to do what they do. He in the brothel, he getting a little drunk. They encourage him. This is why I say don't get drunk and let your friends ruin your life. By saying something you had no business saying and losing your succession.
And that's I mean, you call it the air for a day speech. I mean, even though they didn't show it, like you feel the impact of it still.
I think it's meant to be serious. So
I know in the book it was meant to be him giving a serious toast to his brother and the loss of his wife, and I feel like it was just sort of the ear by ear mentality, like somebody else heard it, then they told somebody else, and by the time it got to Visceras, it was him.
Let's believe Otto.
Laughing.
Otto had people in that setup.
Yeah, I'll blame Otto, people. I mean,
all my homies say Otto.
Despicable. Anybody named Otto is bad news. Look at Spider-Man. If he's taught us anything, anybody named Otto is garbage.
Yeah. He did give a speech, but I think they didn't show it because they think it probably would counter your feelings toward Damon. I think they want you to feel a certain
Yeah,
type of
they
way for
want
that.
they. I can see. I feel like they want him to be hated, but they might have picked the wrong actor for him to be a hated character. Because, like I said, Matt Smith is just so good.
And then he goes to the Crown of Thrones the first time we see it in full glory.
Yeah,
you
him sitting on
you
it.
kind of see it, but it's like from a distance. But then you see it close, and he's on it
Close.
to tell his brother, "Hey, listen, did you say it?" His brother stepped up. You're like, "Listen,
We all mourn in different ways.
yo, I was
That's
drunk."
a gangster line.
And then he told him, "They see you as weak." That's what they see you.
I
They are
mean,
snakes ready to bite you, brother. You don't understand it. And I'm like, he kind of spitting, bro. You out here
I mean,
bleeding
he's
on the
not
throne right
wrong.
now. You bleeding on the throne right now. And nobody see it, but we see it.
Yeah, once you, and we all know, once you cut yourself on, if you cut yourself on the Iron Throne, it wasn't meant for you. I mean, look back to the start of the Game of Thrones when they describe Daenerys' father, Daenerys and Visceras, her brother's dad, the Mad King Aries. They talk about at the end how he was covered in scabs and cuts from the throne, just from sitting on it. If you're not meant to sit the Iron Throne, it's gonna let you know.
So ultimately, he loses his succession to his niece, who, and we said didn't
He
want it.
loves him. Like, that's what sets it up. So, like I said, this show's it's gonna take people on a roller coaster.
I'm looking forward to it. The father asked, "What does she see?" She's like, "We special because we can ride dragons." He tell her this is a curse.
He's not a fan. Like, man, poor Viserys, because like he's such a good dude. He's just not a good king. Just not in the time that he's in. Like he thinks it's a lot sweeter than it is right now. Well, obviously, probably not after his wife and only son died, but just in general. I mean, when you come from being when you come from being the son of the king of the spring, you know what I mean? And spring's all flowers and amazing weather, which, I mean, by the time we get to Game of Thrones, it's winter. But yeah, poor Viserys. I feel so bad for him, and at the same time, I can't help but root for Daemon.
Yeah, we find out we end the show with Rhaenyra getting her
With her
crown, her
coronation,
coronation.
her becoming the princess of Dragonstone.
Yeah, and you see people starting to do their allegiances and pledging to it, the new successor.
Yeah.
It's official now. There's
I hate that my nigga Lord Valerian switched up kinda. Because I've always felt like, even since the book, I wish he'd have, because him and Damon, it felt like, because even in the beginning of the show, he's like, you've already got an heir, your brother. You know what I mean?
he even supported
But
later
then
on.
when the time comes, I mean, of course, he's one of the lords that pledges their fealty to Rhaenyra. So, but
He kind of had to.
Damon didn't make a big.
Once you did find out that he said that and he admitted to it, you kind of be like, that's kind of, you can't. He got the kind of right. You know,
But it depends on the context of
they
the
don't.
conversation.
We know the context, but they don't. Tor, all you do is heard that this man
I
said something.
know, and I hate it because, like I said, and Damon in general, like I said, it's such a, because it's a wild thing, this show, kind of, because, like I said, in the books, in the single book Fire and Blood, you are actually seeing the story from this perspective. You're seeing this from three different people's perspectives that were present at the time. So it's sort of a switch in that way. You know what I mean? And I was worried about how they were going to do that, but so far, like I said, it's been good.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first episode, solid episode. It wasn't anything like outrageously crazy. Like some shows just go all out, and then but the thing about them shows, they burn out.
I heard that we get a sick battle scene by episode 3, though.
Oh, I'm here. They do have some leaks out. I ain't watched them though, but
yeah, I was gonna say they had a few leaks.
But Tori can watch. He didn't read the book. I done read some of it. I ain't read all of it, but I read part.
I'm that's why I've tried not to, because like I said, if they stick as close to this story as they have so far, like I said, I could ruin like the first season for people, and I don't want to do that.
Even the parts I read, I know they're gonna have to change a little bit because some of that stuff is gonna be kind of, you can't put it on quite on TV.
Yeah, but it's HBO. So I mean, some of
Now,
that
some
stuff.
of it I don't even care if it's not like the
Yeah, I was about to
like
say.
who love who and stuff like that might gonna be going on and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I was about to say. Like I
But
wait,
it's certain
wait,
it's a
people, when
certain
that
scene
roller
they might have
coaster
to.
of love hits.
It's a certain point even early in the story that I think they're gonna have to kind of ease over.
Well, and they sort of, I feel like they set the precedent, which is such a big thing in this first episode, setting precedents, how we don't care about them. But I think the precedent for this haul was set when Visceras gives her the Valyrian steel necklace. Not Visceras, when Daemon gives Rhaenyra the Valyrian steel necklace. I think it just sort of, like I said, it's gonna be a really good parallel to Game of Thrones. And if they do this show right, it could sort of fix some of the bad stuff that people had to say about Game of Thrones. I feel like, because if you do a prequel right, it adds a certain layer of subtext that we didn't get to the original show.
True. Well, I appreciate Tori for being here with me, grinding with me. I appreciate you. We'll be here back next week, hopefully on Sunday night live. So if y'all want to come by live, be there. I don't know what time we about 11 Eastern, I think. Cause
I was about to say probably about 11 EST.
Yeah,
give me enough time to watch everything and
because I know it come out at 9 Eastern, so I give people an hour, give them a little 2-hour wingspan.
I was going to say, give everybody the same time we got to watch it.
Just give you about a 2-hour wingspan because we don't want everybody. So if you want to watch us live, you want to support us, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Follow us at Overall 99 Media. All the links in below. Tori, where can they find you personally?
AfroCommie765 on everything. If it's a social media platform, I'm there, probably having some hot takes that you want to argue with me about or agree with. Yeah. So,
like I said, you can find Overall 99 Media at anything Overall 99 Media, but you can find me, Zelmate, under the link tree below. You can find my book, merch, podcast, all the other kind of stuff. It's a lot going on. We got the Zelmate channel. We got the Book of Power. If you watch that, we got She-Hulk on Thursdays. We have we got a lot of shows I review. I'm a probably
Man Cave, Just a Fan. Yeah. Plenty of any context you want to see us in. There's a chance you'll see us in.
Man Cave, Mo Grown Man Talk. Just a Fan is entertainment talk. Make It Make Sense Saturdays. Wild show.
Get a little iffy, but I mean it's good content.
That's the show you just let loose and just talk. Locker Room Talk. Also, we ain't on it, but shout out to the Blur.
I was saying out there, but it's
they on the channel, so it's a lot of stuff you can watch if you enjoyed that talk. And we got something for everybody. The days stay the same, so you know what day to show up, even if you don't like all the content. So please hit that like and subscribe button. Let us know, what do you want to see? Do you like any other shows? Do you recommend me to review other shows? All that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure Tori will watch the wrestling podcast on Friday. Just showed up today and did amazing.
Hey,
so
anytime you want to hear us talk about wrestling, just let us know. We can do it for hours.
Yeah, so I appreciate y'all for watching. Peace.